There are things in our skies that don't belong. They appear above cities, deserts, and oceans. They move with no sound, no pattern, and no explanation. Some leave light, some leave silence. Others leave nothing but questions. Tonight, you're not just watching videos. You're stepping into stories, real encounters, each one stranger than the last. They've been captured by pilots, recorded by families, tracked by radar, and whispered about in every corner of the world. But are they alien? Are they watching? Or are we only beginning to see what's always been there? Watch closely. Because what you're about to witness might change the way you look at the sky forever. The air over Chatsworth that night was thick with smoke and celebration. Laughter echoed from backyard gatherings, and the sky above lit up in bursts of red, green, and gold. It was Independence Day. Families lined their porches, eyes lifted toward the night, expecting fire. Instead, something else descended. Above the glowing trails of fireworks, lights began to appear, not like sparks, these burned steady. Orbs, round and glowing orange, like molten embers drifting through invisible waves. They didn't fall. They didn't rise. They hovered, waiting. John Lopez's camera shook slightly as he recorded, his voice faint in the background. More lights emerged, one by one, blinking into existence with no source, no sound. Some flickered, others faded. But none followed the rhythm of fireworks. They danced on their own time. For over 30 minutes, the sky was divided, below a human show of noise and fire. Above, something older, something watching, and then they vanished. Exactly 1 year later, on the same night, they returned. Same place, same family. Same sky, John's daughter screamed, "Mom, the UFOs are back." Voices trembled, phones filmed. But the lights behaved just the same, hovering, pulsing, unconcerned by fear or wonder. When experts studied the footage, they found no tricks. No signs of tampering, no known aircraft, no flares, no explanation. Some began to ask, were they hiding inside the chaos of fireworks? Or were they drawn to it, and if they came for a reason? What were they waiting for? High above Mexico, where the stars feel close and silence rules the sky, a cargo plane cut through the darkness. It was March 19, 2020. Routine flight, steady altitude. Captain Eric Delgado was mid-meal when something outside the window caught his eye. It fell, glided down from the stars. A glowing orb, it didn't flicker or sway, it pulsed, like it was breathing. Eric froze. He grabbed his phone and began to record. The object moved with intelligence. It hovered beside the aircraft, keeping perfect pace with the roaring engines. Then, slowly, a spotlight emerged from it, cutting through the night. A beam of light, wide and pure, aimed directly into the plane. It was as if the orb was scanning them, observing. The pilots leaned forward, speechless. No alerts sounded, no radar warnings. The collision system showed nothing. This thing, this glowing visitor, was invisible to machines, but fully visible to the men who watched it. It stayed with them for 25 long minutes. Then, with a soft hum, it tilted upward and vanished, shooting into the sky like it had never been there at all. Eric's hands trembled. He looked over the map. They were flying near the zone of silence, a legendary stretch of desert known for blocking radio signals and attracting strange phenomena. For centuries, locals had spoken of lights that appeared in the sky. Stories passed down quietly without cameras. But now there was proof. So what was it? A scout? A warning? Or just a watcher? The morning mist still clung to the grass when Ben Landracombe stepped out of his tent. He was deep in the countryside of Devon, England, alone, surrounded by ancient trees and fields that whispered with time. At first, it was just silence. Then something strange underfoot. The ground had been pressed down, not just flattened, but shaped. Huge, circular markings appeared in the grass, not carved with violence, but pressed with care as if something heavy had landed without breaking a single blade. One circle, then another, some tilted, some stood in perfect symmetry, not chaotic, designed. Ben stared. The grass wasn't burned. There were no tire tracks, no footprints, no debris. Only the feeling that something had been there and left before dawn. He filmed it, shared it. And the world began to wonder, was this a landing site, a message, or a warning? Experts offered ideas: a wind burst, a pressure event, a microburst from a thunderstorm that passed days before. But none of it explained the pattern, the silence, or why the circles seemed to align with each other as if marking a path. Some mysteries don't flash in the sky, some leave no lights. Only impressions, and this one stayed. Far from roads and towns, deep in the red stone maze of southern Utah, a helicopter flew low, counting bighorn sheep. Below, one of the crew noticed something shiny, something wrong. They landed. In the middle of an isolated canyon stood a tall, silver monolith. Smooth, cold, perfectly vertical, reflecting the sky like liquid metal. It looked like it didn't belong because it didn't. There was no trail, no construction marks. No one knew who placed it there, or why. Photos spread online. People compared it to the alien monolith in 2001, A Space Odyssey. Speculation exploded. Was it a signal, a gift, a test? But then fingerprints were found. Tool marks, rivets. It wasn't made from unknown metal. It didn't hum. It didn't float. It was human-made, maybe an art installation, maybe a prank. But here's the strange part. No one saw it arrive, and no one saw it leave. One morning it was simply gone, vanished, no trace. And like a myth reborn, similar monoliths began appearing around the world, even if it was man-made. Its timing, its mystery, its silence felt alien. Sometimes it's not what something is, it's how it makes us feel. And this monolith made the world remember. It's how to wonder. Out at sea aboard the massive deck of the USS Ford aircraft carrier, a video emerged. It showed something hovering above the ship. A triangle, sharp edges, dark body. 3 bright lights burning at each point, motionless in the sky. The internet ignited. Was this a secret weapon, a visitor from another world, or something the US Navy didn't want the world to see? Some believed it was proof of cooperation between aliens and the military. Others feared it was a warning, but shadows don't lie. When experts examined the footage, they noticed something strange. The light angles didn't match. The sun's shadows were inconsistent. The object wasn't moving naturally with the ship's frame. Frame by frame, the illusion began to crack. It was a fake, an edited video, a digital ghost. But still, the damage was done. Misinformation, when wrapped in mystery, spreads faster than truth. And for every hoax, 10 more questions are born. If this one was fake, how many others were not? It was a quiet night in Jerusalem. The golden dome of the rock stood still beneath a cloudless sky. This sacred place, where prophets walked, where prayers echoed across centuries, glowed beneath the moonlight. Then, without sound, it appeared. A small orb of white light hovered above the dome, perfectly still. Then it dropped, straight down, like gravity had changed its mind. And just as it neared the ancient stone, it froze, paused for a heartbeat, then exploded upward into the heavens in a burst of impossible speed. The video went viral. Some said it was divine, others alien, but whatever it was, it moved with precision no missile could match. No drone, no balloon, no meteor. It chose that place out of all the skies on Earth. Why there? Theories spread fast. Some called it a galactic federation sign, a secret alliance hidden from the public. Even a former Israeli space official stepped forward, claiming Earth was being visited and that the public simply wasn't ready. But when experts examined the footage, something didn't feel right. The motion seemed off. The light didn't reflect naturally. Compression artifacts hinted at editing. They labeled it a hoax. But for those who saw it with their own eyes, or felt something stir deep inside, no verdict could erase the question. If the heavens wanted to send a message, wouldn't they choose a place like this? It started like a dream. 6 lights appeared over Miami, soft, glowing, evenly spaced in the warm coastal sky. They hovered without sound. Then, one by one, they began to move, not randomly, in perfect coordination. Spinning, turning, breaking apart, then reforming like dancers in the night. Witnesses gasped. Phones trembled. Some said the lights looked alive. Others whispered about UFO mitosis, a strange theory where alien crafts could split, replicate, and move independently. The footage was stunning. The lights didn't blink like planes, they didn't sway like lanterns, they were controlled, precise. But something felt off. In the background, the people barely reacted. A few glanced up, others kept walking. Experts studied the video. The movement of the lights didn't match the clouds. The shadows didn't shift naturally with the horizon. There was no evidence of physical presence, no interaction with the environment. Frame by frame, the illusion cracked. Digital artifacts, layered visuals, a cleverly edited hoax. Still, it stirred something ancient. That feeling when the sky opens and shows us something we weren't meant to see. Even fakes remind us, we are always waiting for something real. Along the foggy coast of Warminster, a small crowd gathered on the sand. Waves crashed gently. Children played, and then they looked up. 1 orb, then 2, then 3. It was like watching a cell divide. The glowing object split midair, calmly, silently, into smaller lights that flew apart in sharp angles, curved, then spun around each other in an aerial dance. It looked nothing like fireworks. There was no explosion, no smoke. Only light multiplying. A witness gasped. "They're splitting," he said, the camera shaking in his hands. Then the orbs shot upward, faster than anything should, until they vanished into the mist. But there was something strange. In the background, people on the beach barely reacted. One bent over to pick up a towel. Another looked away. Experts reviewed the video. The lights didn't match the motion of the waves or the tilt of the handheld camera. The background blurred only near the orbs. It looked too clean. Using digital tools, they traced the effect to a mobile editing app, popular, easy to use, designed for adding floating lights. The verdict, hoax. But not everyone believed that. Because in every myth, in every illusion, there is a question that lingers. What if someone faked it? Because they had already seen something real. The night sky over North Carolina was clear, too clear. A man stood alone outside his home, phone in hand, as a single light hovered in the darkness. At first, he thought it might be a plane, a helicopter, maybe even a drone. But then it split. Without a sound, the glowing orb divided into 2. No explosion, no flash, just a clean, eerie duplication. Seconds later, it split again. Now there were 4. Each moved with its own rhythm, looping, dancing, rejoining, separating once more. He recorded it, his voice shaking in the background. "They're splitting. Again," he whispered. This wasn't the chaos of fireworks or the drifting dance of lanterns. It was deliberate, coordinated. The lights maintained distance from one another, yet always returned to the center, like they were tethered by some invisible force. Experts later reviewed the video. There were no signs of lens flares, no editing artifacts, and the man, visibly nervous, clearly unprepared, didn't seem like someone staging a hoax. What were they? Theorists suggested advanced reconnaissance drones. Others believed this could be a new kind of propulsion system, self-replicating aerial vehicles. And some whispered about UFO mitosis once again. If one object can become many, are we seeing a single intelligence, or a swarm acting as one? Off the coast of California, a man was fishing alone just before dawn. The sky was still dark, the ocean a vast sheet of black glass. Then he noticed the stars had changed. 3 lights hovered above the water in a perfect triangle. At first, he thought they were constellations until they moved. Slowly, the triangle began to rotate. The lights didn't blink. They didn't sway. They hovered in absolute silence like sentinels in the sky. Then 2 more lights appeared. One at the center, one just outside the formation. Now it was a pentagon. Then a star. Then chaos. The lights darted across the sky, faster than any plane, then reformed instantly into new shapes. The man's camera shook as he recorded. His voice was barely a whisper. "I've never seen anything move like this." Analysis later showed the footage had no cuts, no overlays. One expert noted, "These aren't formations we teach in flight school. They're not even patterns we expect from military craft." Could it have been a secret test? Possibly, but there were no engine sounds, no vapor trails, no radar echoes. And when the lights finally blinked out, one by one, it felt like something ancient had just left the sky. In the silence that followed, the only sound was the ocean breathing. And in the video, just one last frame, 3 points of light, frozen in a triangle, then gone. The sky holds secrets, and some of them are looking back. So what do you think? Were these just tricks of light, or something not of this world? Tell us in the comments, share your thoughts, and if you've ever seen something strange, something no one could explain. Now's the time to speak. Because the more we look, the more we find. This is X-Sight, and the truth isn't out there, it's already here.